Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. I'm Kristi Shive, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Courtney Luecking. She's an extension specialist for health and nutrition for the University of Kentucky. Is there a point when we should be concerned about our picky eaters?
There's no right or wrong answer here, but I will start by normalizing this kind of quote unquote picky eating or selective eating. Children may go through phases where they only want to eat one or certain foods. And so we might call that picky. And we typically see it when kids are between 1 and 3 years old. Rest assured, this is part of that normal development. They have an opinion now, or they've always had an opinion, but they can more actively share what they want and do not want with us. So we can say it is somewhat normal, but it can carry on longer and cause some concerns.
Now, is there anyone that we can reach out to for support if we do feel that we need to look further for help?
Yeah, so when to reach out for support versus kind of riding that wave and see if it will pass. I would say if a child is avoiding a whole food group or certain temperatures or certain textures of food, that might be a good time to reach out to a healthcare provider, because there are a number of health conditions, kind of that physical health, but also behavioral health that can be linked with some of this very selective eating. Things like autism spectrum disorder or acid reflux or food allergies or constipation or sensory processing disorders. Those can all cause children to be pretty cautious with what they want to eat or not eat.
So, Courtney, reaching out to a healthcare provider is who we should reach out to.
Yes. And so they could start with a pediatrician, but then pending what kind of that root cause is of the picky eating, they might refer you to a registered dietitian or a speech language pathologist or occupational therapists, anyone who has that specialty in child feeding.
Are there any things that we can do to support these selective eaters?
Yes, there are several things we can do in the meantime. One is to keep a schedule for meals and snacks. Children thrive on routine. And so offering healthy options regularly can prevent grazing in between. And so they might come a little bit hungrier to meals. But also consider keeping meals short and sweet. It can be a stressful time for everybody. The sensory experience can be overwhelming. We're seeing and tasting and touching and hearing. There's a lot going on. So keep it less than 15 to 20 minutes. Take a break if you need to. And then try to offer those similar favorites. We don't need to try to force anything. And so if a child only likes green foods, try to offer a different green food and see how that goes.
Now, Courtney, I can remember in the past you have recommended keeping food separate as a possible way of helping.
Absolutely. So if we have like chili, for example, in this cold weather season, that can be very overwhelming to children. And so try to piece everything out, and that way they can have a choice about what to eat or not. And so a couple more things that we can think about is starting small. We have a tendency to just plop food on a plate, and that can be very overwhelming. And so depending on the child, we may need to start as small as like a dot of a pencil. So you might not be able to quite see it, or like a quarter of a teaspoon. So thinking about very small serving sizes as opposed to maybe a whole scoop of something. And then maybe think about how we're talking about our foods, encouraging children, but not forcing them, and being more objective about talking what is on the plate. What is it? Where did it come from? What does it smell like? Maybe help process what it feels like or tastes like for them. Help them understand what is there before they decide whether or not to try it.
So many great tips, Courtney. Now, if someone wants more information, do we have resources through our local extension offices?
We have an information release that can give a little bit more, and we have lots of tips about how to introduce new or different foods.
Yes, so many great resources from the Eating Over the Rainbow Challenge that you led this past summer. Courtney, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for joining us today on the Farm and Home Show, and we'll see you next time.